Here we go. It's story time. Wife cheated with my best friend. I got them both back. I'm sitting in my lawyer's office right now, and he just told me something that made me smile for the first time in months. My ex-wife and my former best friend, they're both struggling hard, completely broke, and I'm about to tell you exactly how karma caught up with them. But first, let me take you back to where this nightmare started, because what I found out was so much worse than just cheating. I'm 38 years old. My name doesn't matter anymore because I'm not the same person I was 2 years ago. I was married to my wife. She's 37 for 16 years. 16 years of what I thought was a pretty good marriage. We got married young, right out of college. We had 3 kids together, 2 boys, 14 and 12, and a daughter who's 9. I was a network engineer, good money, stable job, provided everything my family needed. My wife didn't work outside the home. She stayed home with the kids, which was fine. We agreed on that years ago when our oldest was born. She handled the house. I handled the income. That was our deal. My best friend, let's call him Oliver. I have known this guy for 22 years. We met in college, freshman year, became close friends. He was at my wedding. I was at his. When he got divorced about 4 years ago, I was the one who helped him through it. Let him stay at our house for 2 weeks when he had nowhere else to go. My wife cooked for him. We all supported him. That's the kind of friendship we had. Oliver worked in sales for a software company. He traveled a lot for work, but when he was in town, we would hang out, watch games, grab drinks, normal guy stuff. My wife knew him almost as long as I did. They were friendly, but I never thought anything of it. Why would I? The discovery happened in the most random way possible. I wasn't looking for anything. I wasn't suspicious. I didn't have any reason to be. I came home early one afternoon. I had been at a conference, and it ended earlier than expected. My wife thought I wouldn't be back until evening. The kids were still at school. I pulled into the driveway and saw Oliver's truck parked down the street, not in front of our house, but close enough that I recognized it. I thought maybe he was visiting a neighbor or something. I didn't think much of it at first. I walked into the house through the garage. Everything was quiet. Then I heard it. Voices coming from upstairs, from my bedroom. I'm not going to describe what I saw when I opened that door. You can imagine it. But what I will say is this. They were not just having an affair. They were comfortable, like this wasn't the first time, like this was routine. My wife screamed. Oliver jumped up, started scrambling for his clothes. I didn't yell right away. I just stood there, frozen. Then the rage hit me, and I told them both to get out. Get out of my house, now. Oliver tried to talk. Started with the whole, man, I can explain, nonsense. I cut him off. Get the hell out of my house right now, or I'm calling the police. He left, grabbed his stuff, and left. My wife tried a different approach. She started crying immediately, saying it was a mistake, that it didn't mean anything, that she loved me. All the typical lines you hear in these situations. I told her to pack a bag and leave. She refused at first, said this was her house too, that we needed to talk about this. I told her we could talk through lawyers. She saw something in my face that made her realize I wasn't playing around. She packed a bag and went to her best friend's place. After she left, I sat in my living room for about an hour, just sat there, processing. Then I got up and started looking. I went through everything, her laptop, her tablet, the desktop computer we shared. I wasn't trying to invade her privacy at that point. Privacy went out the window when I found another man in my bed. What I found made everything so much worse. They had been messaging each other for over a year, maybe longer, but I could only find messages going back that far. They used an app I had never heard of before, some encrypted messaging thing, but my wife wasn't smart enough to log out of it on her laptop. The messages were detailed and graphic. They talked about me, laughed about me, made jokes about me, how easy it was to sneak around. There were messages about times they met up when I was at work, times when the kids were at school, even one time when I was out of town for a work trip and he stayed over at our house, in our bed, while I was gone. I took screenshots of everything, every single message, every photo they sent each other, all of it, saved it to a flash drive. Then I found something else: financial records. My wife had been taking money out of our joint account, small amounts at first, 50 here, 100 there, but over the past year, it added up to almost $12,000. She was spending it on him, buying him gifts, paying for hotel rooms when they wanted to be extra careful, even helped him pay off some of his credit card debt from his divorce. My money, money I earned, money that was supposed to go toward our kids, our household, our future. She was giving it to him. Looking back, I should have noticed. But when I handled the income, she handled the household finances. I would transfer money for groceries, bills, the kids' activities. I trusted her 100%, so I never questioned the amounts. I never looked closely at the statements. That trust was my biggest mistake. That's when I stopped feeling sad and started feeling something else: anger. I didn't do anything impulsive. That's important. A lot of guys in my situation lose their minds and do something stupid. I didn't. I got smart. First thing I did was call my attorney. I had used him years ago for some contract work, and I knew he handled divorces. I met with him the next morning, brought all the evidence with me. He looked through everything and flat out asked me, what did I want to do? I told him I wanted to file for divorce because she was cheating on me and she was spending money on the guy she was cheating with, my ex-best friend, all documented. He said in our state, adultery is a factor in asset division and could affect alimony. He told me we needed to move strategically. I wanted to move fast. We filed for divorce within the week. My attorney made it very clear in the filing that my wife had been unfaithful and had misused marital funds to support her affair. But I didn't stop there. My attorney filed an emergency motion to prevent her from withdrawing any more money from our accounts. The judge granted it. She could still access money for necessities, but any large withdrawals required court approval. Then I did something I'm not entirely proud of, but I don't regret it either. I called Oliver's employer. Now, I didn't just call to be spiteful. Well, maybe partially, but I had a legitimate reason. Oliver had told me years ago about his company's policy. They had a strict ethics code because they worked with financial institutions and government contracts. Employees were required to disclose any conflicts of interest or situations that could compromise their judgment. Having an affair with a married woman, especially when you're traveling for work and potentially using company resources, that could be a problem. I didn't lie to them. I didn't exaggerate. I simply sent an email to their HR compliance department explaining the situation. I included the dates when Oliver had claimed to be traveling for work, but was actually at my house. I mentioned that I was concerned about whether company resources had been used inappropriately. I kept it professional, just stated the facts, let them make their own decision. They conducted an investigation. Turns out Oliver had lied about his location on several trip reports, had claimed per diem for days he wasn't actually traveling. The affair itself wasn't why they fired him. It was the lying and the expense fraud. They fired him within 3 weeks. My wife tried to come back home several times. I wanted to change the locks, but my attorney told me not to do that. He said you would have to go to court to keep her out. He said you can't kick your wife out of the house for cheating. Even though I told her to get out, she didn't come back. The kids were confused at first. They knew something was wrong, but they didn't know what. My oldest son asked me where his mom was. I sat all 3 of them down and told them an age-appropriate version of the truth. I told them their mother and I were getting divorced because she had broken our marriage vows, that she had been unfaithful, that this was her choice, not mine. I didn't give them graphic details. I didn't trash talk her, but I wasn't going to lie to them either. My daughter cried. My youngest son didn't really understand, but my oldest, he got it. He was angry, angrier than I expected. He asked if it was with Uncle Oliver. That's what they called him, Uncle Oliver. I said, yep, it was Uncle Oliver. He didn't talk to his mother for a month after that. My wife tried to spin it, told the kids I was being cruel, that I was keeping them from her. But kids are not stupid, especially teenagers. They knew she had done something wrong. Oliver tried reaching out to me several times over the next few months, sent multiple emails, all of them some variation of, "I'm sorry, man. I never meant for this to happen." He tried calling, but I blocked his number after the second attempt. He even showed up at my office one day about 3 weeks after I kicked him out. Security escorted him out before he could get to my floor. A mutual friend told me Oliver was desperate to explain himself. I told that friend that there was nothing to explain. Oliver made his choices. He could live with them. Eventually, he got the message and stopped trying. My wife's family was another story. Her parents were devastated when they found out. They have known Oliver for years too, considered him part of our extended family. They didn't take sides publicly, but I could tell they were disappointed in her. Her mother called me once, crying, apologizing for what her daughter had done. I told her she didn't need to apologize for someone else's choices. Her best friend, the one who let my wife stay with her initially, supported her at first. But even that relationship became strained after a few weeks. Apparently, my wife kept trying to justify what she'd done, kept trying to make it seem like it wasn't that bad. Her best friend wasn't having it. My wife ended up moving out after about a month and stayed on a friend's couch for a while. Then that arrangement fell apart too. Most of her old friend group distanced themselves after everything came out. Nobody wanted to be associated with what she'd done. She was pretty much on her own. And honestly, that was her doing. She burned those bridges herself. About 6 months into the divorce process, my wife and Oliver tried to go public with their relationship. They posted photos together on social media, acting like they were some happy couple, like they hadn't destroyed 2 families to be together. That's when I decided it was time to tell my story. I had been sitting on all that evidence, all those messages, all those receipts. I had kept quiet because my attorney advised me to keep things off social media during the divorce, but seeing them flaunt their relationship pushed me over the edge. I didn't post the actual screenshots. My attorney warned me that could potentially violate wiretapping laws, depending on how the messages were obtained. Instead, I wrote my own post, a detailed account of what happened, how I discovered the affair, how long it had been going on, how my wife had stolen money from our family to support it. I didn't name them directly, but anyone who knew us would know who I was talking about. I posted it on my social media and walked away from my phone. Within an hour, it had over 100 shares. Within a few hours, several hundred. People I hadn't talked to in years were reaching out. Friends, family, old coworkers, everyone saw it. My wife called me furious, threatened to sue me for defamation. I told her everything I wrote was true, and truth is an absolute defense against defamation. I also reminded her that she could file whatever she wanted, but it would just mean more legal fees she couldn't afford. She hung up on me. The post kept spreading. People who knew both of them saw it. Oliver's family saw it. My wife's friends saw it. Our kids' teacher saw it. Everyone in our community knew. My wife tried to delete her social media accounts, but it was too late. The damage was done. Oliver tried to defend himself online, made some post about how relationships are complicated and no one knows the full story. People tore him apart in the comments. He deleted that post within a day. The divorce took about 14 months from filing to finalization. It wasn't quick, but my attorney said that was normal for a contested case with kids and significant assets. Here's how it broke down. I got the house, but I had to buy out her portion of the equity. The judge valued it at current market rates and split the equity 50-50. However, the judge also ordered her to repay the $12,000 she had taken from our accounts. That amount was deducted from her share of the marital assets. Now, here's the part that surprised a lot of people: the custody arrangement. My wife assumed she'd get primary custody because she'd been the stay-at-home parent. Her attorney argued exactly that she'd been the primary caregiver for 16 years. But here's what they didn't count on: the custody evaluation. In our state, when custody is contested, the court orders a professional evaluation. A psychologist interviews everyone, both parents, the kids, sometimes teachers, and other people in the kids' lives. They also review records, observe interactions, all of it. The evaluator spent 3 months on our case, and her report didn't favor my ex-wife. First, there was the issue of stability. My wife had moved in with her best friend immediately after I kicked her out. Then she moved to a friend's couch, then to a small studio apartment. She didn't have steady employment. She didn't have a stable living situation. Meanwhile, I had kept the family home. I kept my job. I kept everything consistent for the kids. Second, there were interviews with the kids themselves. My oldest was 15 by the time we got to court. In our state, at 14, a child's preference is given serious consideration. He told the evaluator point blank that he wanted to live with me, that he felt betrayed by his mother, that he didn't trust her anymore. My middle son, who was 13, said similar things. Even my daughter, who was 10, expressed that she felt more comfortable with me. The evaluator noted in her report that all 3 children had stronger emotional bonds with me than with their mother. Third, and this was the kicker, the evaluator found that my wife had been somewhat disengaged as a parent even before the affair came out. She interviewed the kids' teachers, looked at school records, checked who had been attending parent-teacher conferences, who had been listed as the primary contact, who had been managing their medical appointments and activities. Turns out, even though my wife was home, I had been the one doing most of the actual parenting logistics. I was the one signing permission slips, responding to emails from teachers, taking them to doctor appointments before or after work, coaching their sports teams on weekends. My wife was physically present, but she wasn't as involved as everyone assumed. The evaluator also noted that my wife had been spending a significant amount of time and energy on her affair, that the messages I'd provided as evidence showed she'd been meeting Oliver during school hours when she should have been available for the kids. She'd even had him over to the house while the kids were home on at least 2 occasions, according to the messages. The final report recommended that I be granted primary physical custody. It recommended that my wife receive standard visitation every other weekend, alternating holidays, and 2 weeks in the summer. The judge reviewed everything and agreed with the evaluator's recommendation. My attorney told me later that the decision really came down to 3 things: stability, the kids' preferences, and the evaluation showing I had been more engaged despite working full-time. The affair itself wasn't the deciding factor. The judge made that clear, but everything that came with the affair, the instability, the broken trust, the evidence that she'd been prioritizing the affair over her parenting responsibilities, that all mattered. My wife was furious. Her attorney tried to argue that it was unfair, that stay-at-home mothers shouldn't be punished for one mistake. But the judge shut that down. The judge said this wasn't about punishment. It was about what was best for the children. And based on the evidence, the children were better off primarily with me. So that's how I ended up with primary custody despite her being the stay-at-home parent for 16 years. It wasn't automatic. It wasn't because of the affair alone. It was because when everything was examined closely, it became clear that I'd been the more active, engaged parent all along. As for alimony, she asked for it. Her attorney argued that she had been out of the workforce for 16 years and needed support while she got back on her feet. My attorney countered with the evidence of her misuse of marital funds and the fact that she was capable of working. The judge ordered temporary rehabilitative alimony for 3 years. It wasn't much, about $1,000 a month, just enough to help her get training and find work. After 3 years, it would end. She also had to start working within 6 months, or the alimony would be reduced. The judge wasn't trying to punish her, but he also wasn't going to let her live off me indefinitely. She walked away with less than she hoped for, but more than nothing. Half the equity in the house minus the $12,000, temporary alimony, and a reputation in our community that was completely destroyed. Oliver didn't fare much better. After losing his job, he struggled to find new work in his field. The termination for expense fraud made it difficult. Most companies do background checks and call previous employers. When they asked why he left his last job, the truth came out. He ended up taking a job in a different industry that paid significantly less than what he used to make. I heard that he was barely scraping by. It's been 2 years since I caught them. My life looks completely different now. I'm still in the same house. The kids are doing well. My oldest is 16 now, getting ready to look at colleges. He's interested in engineering. My middle son is 14, doing great in school and playing basketball. My daughter is 11, and honestly, she's handled this better than anyone. She's tough. They maintain a relationship with their mother, but it's not what it used to be. They see through her attempts to buy their affection with gifts and special outings. They know what she did. They know she chose herself over the family. My oldest told her once during a particularly tense pickup, "You can't just pretend like nothing happened, Mom." She cried. He didn't back down. I never encouraged them to be harsh with her. I never badmouthed her to them, but I also didn't lie to them or make excuses for her. I told them the truth in an age-appropriate way and let them form their own opinions. They chose to maintain distance. That was their choice, and I support them in it. My wife is living in a small apartment now. She got a job working as an administrative assistant. It doesn't pay much, but it's something. She's been paying back that $12,000 in installments as ordered by the court. She complains about it constantly, according to the kids. Says it's not fair that she has to pay it back while I'm living comfortably. But you know what? Life isn't fair. She made choices. She's living with the consequences. Oliver is in a similar boat. Last I heard, he's still working that lower-paying job. He and my ex-wife are still together. But from what I've been told, it's rocky. Who would have thought? They're stuck together now. Two people who burned down their lives for each other, and they're miserable. As for me, I'm doing better than I ever thought I would. I am still making good money. I've started dating again. Nothing serious yet, but I'm open to it. My kids are my priority, and any woman who wants to be in my life needs to understand that. I'm not the same person I was 2 years ago. I'm more cautious now, more careful about who I trust. But I'm also stronger. I survived something that could have destroyed me, and I came out on top. So here I am. 2 years later, something else comes up. I am sitting in my lawyer's office because my ex-wife is trying to renegotiate the custody agreement. She wants more time with the kids. Specifically, she wants to move from every other weekend to a 50-50 split. My attorney told me she doesn't have a strong case. The kids are old enough now that their preferences carry significant weight in court, and they've made it very clear to the custody evaluator that they don't want to spend more time with her. My oldest flat out refused, told the evaluator he's almost an adult and he should get to choose where he spends his time. My middle son said he's comfortable with the current arrangement, My daughter was more conflicted, but even she said she didn't want to change things. The judge will make the final call, but my attorney is confident the current arrangement will stand. My ex is also struggling financially. She's behind on her repayment plan for that $12,000. She's filed a motion to reduce the payment amount, claiming financial hardship. My attorney said the judge might grant it, but it'll just extend how long she has to pay. She's still on the hook for the full amount. And you know what? I don't feel bad about it. Not even a little bit. She made her choices. She chose to betray me. She chose to steal from our family. She chose her affair over her marriage, over her kids, over everything we built together for 16 years. And now she's living with the consequences of those choices. Oliver is too. He's broke, stuck in a dead-end job, and trapped in a relationship with a woman who destroyed her own life to be with him. They have nothing to show for what they did. Meanwhile, I'm thriving. My kids are thriving. We're moving forward. And that right there is the best outcome I could have hoped for. If you're going through something similar, here's my advice. Don't lose your mind. Don't do something stupid that's going to land you in jail or ruin your life. Get smart. Document everything. Get a good attorney and let the system work for you. Tell your truth, but do it carefully. Don't post